We'll go ahead and get started, and then if we have a few more people log in, that's great. So the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of January 16. Did everyone receive those first of all? Does everyone have copies? Great. And do I have a motion to approve?
Approve.
Thank you, Tricia. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Liz. All right, were there any comments or corrections or discussion? No? All right, motion to approve. All in favor, sorry. Been a while. All right, great. I'll take that as an approval. Thank you. All right. I do have a guest here. I have Michael, and Michael, actually, I don't know how to say your last.
I'll let you just guess at it.
No, there are too many vowels.
Ferreira.
Ferreira. Okay, there's some I's, a whole bunch of E's in there. So Michael Ferreira, and he will be speaking with us about Restaurant Week later on the agenda. So I'm just going to go through with the report of my activities for the moment. First, new homeowner mailings. I'm actually a couple months behind on this. I will get caught up at some point. But just to let everyone know, there were 4 home sales in January. And since we were ending up a year, I took a look back just to kind of see where we are. We like to keep an eye on the home sales. So I'll give you some totals. 2020, starting in March, which was COVID, there were 136 home sales for the year. 2021, there were 93. 2022, there were 74. And 2023, 49. Morty, you're in town.
I'm in town.
It's winter. That's so exciting. Have a seat. Thanks for joining us. So anyway, so you'll see that's a pretty significant drop off, to go from 136 in 2020 to 49 for all of 2023. So the home sales, that whole housing market has really slowed down. And then the other thing that I track with those home sales, partially because of the welcome letter and the email list, the selectmen's email list, which we work so hard to add email addresses to, we have finally cleared the 1,500 mark. We are at 1,586, which is really exciting. We were at 1,100 back in 2020, so we've added over 400 emails. And we saw a really nice jump of more than 200 since we sent the tax bill. So, or the insert with the tax bills. So those were mailed out. We remember paid for an additional insert to go out in all the tax bills. And at that point, we had 1,337 email addresses, and we're now at 1,586. So we've added 250 since then. So I think that was a really great outreach, definitely worth the money. That's all I really had for that. Any questions? Okay. The newsletter is in production right now. Hoping to get the first draft of the layout today. Going to the post offices next week. So we'll finish up design this week and go to printing next week to be in the mailboxes for the March 1st. And so far, so good. I haven't heard, unfortunately, Kathy, who does our layout for us, was not feeling well. So I usually have seen a first draft by now, but she said probably by the end of today. So that's moving along. The Arts Council continues to meet and actually set goals for the whole year, activities and events to shoot for, including the cultural district designation. And we did meet with the selectmen to present the budget request. Victoria Rowan, who's the chair, went to that with me. And I think the feedback was good. So that's what the Arts Council is up to. You'll also hear more about the Arts Council during Restaurant Week, because that is a partnership that we talked about at our last EDC meeting. Affordable housing, just to let you know, Housing Commission is continuing to do their work in their outreach and communications. Did meet with the selectmen for the budget request for next year. And I just want to let everybody know, the operating budget for the Housing Commission is pretty small, which is fine, but there was a significant capital request for this year. This is to help in it's to go to the Affordable Housing Fund to be used in whatever projects are upcoming. We've been partnering with the Housing Trust to try to get some of the pre-development stuff done for them. They have a house on Baldwin Hill in progress right now. So I just wanted to let everybody know about that. It's important that we support this request. So I'll keep you abreast of the whole budget process as we go to Board of Finance and then the town meeting. And if you ever have any questions about that, please feel free to ask me. And if anybody in the community has questions and you want to direct them my way, that's fine. So affordable housing is something that we've talked a lot about here at the EDC. And so helping get some of these projects moving is important. All right, sustainability. Just a quick update. The committee has decided we will probably go ahead and try to renew our bronze certification, which means we need to update our action items. And the reason I'm bringing that to you is because the parts of that I am involved with are around the town communications. So I'll need to update our communications plan, give them updates of the website and the Explore and the print guide that we do, as well as some of the connectivity, the sidewalk progress that we've been making or not making, but the work on that all counts. So, and the work I do with housing counts. So a lot of the projects that I work on as community coordinator and then things that the EDC does are applicable to that application. So just to let you know. And also they are adding this year for the first time a goal of putting out an Earth Day newsletter that will be completely devoted to everything going on in town, whether it's updates on the recycling or invasive species or things that homeowners can be doing themselves. So I'll be putting that together, doing the layout for that. So that'll be an additional newsletter coming out in April. Earth Day is April 20th. The SEDS. So I just, right before this meeting, I forwarded an email to all of you about the comprehensive economic development strategy for the Northwest Corner through the COG. It's a 5-year plan. And there is a hearing on that plan tomorrow, I think is tomorrow evening. And then there's a review period for comments. And there is a link in that email to the document. It's a heavy document. It's like 80 or 90 pages long. It's got a lot of data, some of which is really quite interesting about where people work and the different industries and population and changes. And so, and then our goals looking forward. So if you have an opportunity to take a look at that, that's great. I have been on the committee putting that together and have attended quite a few meetings on that. Unfortunately, I will be out of town for the next 5 days, so I'm missing the evening meeting tomorrow, but we'll be at the meeting March. Let's see, I think the committee is going to reconvene on that March 15, somewhere in the middle of the month. So it's a lot to read, but if you have a moment to take a look, that would be great. Or if you feel like tuning in to that meeting tomorrow at 6:30 p.m., there's a Zoom option for that. So you can hear what the Northwest Corner is doing. That reminds me, there is Connecticut Tourism Conference on March 27th in Hartford at the Bushnell. And if any of you would like to attend with me, I'd be happy. I have money in the budget to sign you up. I plan on going. I'll give you a week or two to think about that before I register. I'll just read a little blurb. I'll actually forward that invitation to you all as well, so you can see what that's about, but it's an event from 9:30 to 3. And it says, "This is our time. Connecticut is receiving more attention than ever as a great place to visit, frequently earning top national rankings and earned media from prestigious news outlets. We need you to be part of the momentum." And they're going to be speakers and workshops all about tourism. And then the chief marketing officer for the state, Anthony, is going to be speaking, as well as the director of tourism, Rachel Linda. I know that's a way to,
What a name.
easy to remember, Anthony.
Anthony's cool.
So that date again was March 27, and I will forward that to you all so you can see if it looks like something you might be interested in.
Is that a way for us, for Washington to kind of promote itself?
Well, so the Connecticut has, the CT tourism is a big topic. Hi, Marianne.
Excuse me, I think this might be James Mouse. Thank you.
And
How are you?
the state spends millions of dollars on their tourism outreach campaign, and we are, Washington is very well represented on the CT Visit website. And that is because Julia and her team at Explore do a fantastic job of keeping that up to date, sending them pictures, sending them blog posts. So when they had a big campaign running in the subways in New York and the train stations in Boston, digital campaign, and there were pictures from Washington on there. It was the Pride Days at Shag and the Thoreau Bridge in Steep Rock at Hidden Valley. So we are well represented. So it is a great way to learn. It's a great way to learn about what the state is doing to reach out to the greater New England area. Oh, there may be some national campaigns. And then to see how we can feed into what they're already doing.
Oh, that's,
Right, because they're spending big money on this.
yeah.
So it's good to see what they are doing. So I'll forward that to you all. The last thing I wanted to share, and I'll forward this to you as well. And I'm so thankful that Trisha has, I don't know, you must have a Google alert on, because she's always sending me articles where Washington has been featured. And this time it was the 30 best small towns in Connecticut, including the one that inspired Stars Hollow. So we were front and center again. It is the Gilmore Girls that just keep on giving. They had 30 small towns and we were number 3. And a point to know, and this was in House Beautiful. Yep, this was House Beautiful, right? So this is like the 3rd article for 2024 for Washington, and we had the Afar Travel Magazine, House Beautiful, and Connecticut Magazine. We were ranked, I think, number 1 for the Northwest corner or something like that. So 3 already, and I think there's one more on the horizon that Julia told me about. That's a national publication, so we'll see. But what I found out, I was checking all the links in their article, and I found out that the Fan Fest that likes to take the Gilmore Girls Fan Fest all around New England is coming back to Connecticut in 2024. They'll be in Guilford, October 18th to the 24th. So we should keep that on our radar. I was thinking we might want to scope it out and see if there's a way to drop some literature or reach out. You know, they're very protective of their it's not really, it's a fest. And they want the people who bought tickets and come to attend their events. So we don't really want to pilfer that, but if somebody's gonna extend their trip by a day or 2, we want to make sure they know where it was, the town it was really based on. And I think, Trisha, you may have helped me with this when it was in Kent a few years back. We dropped off some guides to have at the table. So what I was thinking is we might either want to bring some guides down to Guilford or print up something specific just take the page, the Gilmore Girls page out of our guide and print just a one, like double-sided page, couple hundred of those to just drop off for the Fan Fest people, maybe with a map showing where we are in relation to Guilford or something like that. So
Do we know who has organized this whole Fan Fest?
it's the same organizers. I mean, I went to the website, it's the same fonts, the same. And Lisa knows possibly more. She worked, I can't even remember, was it Rachel? I don't know. They're from Austin, Texas, and they're the ones who have arranged this Fan Fest. The one we did here, the one that was in Kent, it was in Maine last year, I think. They took a year or two off for COVID.
Right.
I think they may have been in one other Connecticut town, so they take their fest on the road, and we just want to make sure that the fan doors know we're here. Hey, Lisa, I saw you unmuted. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, so they actually thought about coming here. They tried to reach out to a bunch of different places, and some people didn't get back to them. So that's how they kind of ended up in Guilford. And I do speak with Jenny regularly. That's who's the organizer.
Jenny,
You're welcome.
right.
Jenny.
And she is looking to possibly do something maybe here for the 25th anniversary of the show. I think would be in 2025. So either involving us or getting something within Washington. So I don't know that.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I don't know about giving them guides. I mean, we could talk to her about something like that. Obviously, a lot of people that do come know about Washington as it is. And if they do the research, they know, where to go. Because we do get people regularly from Gilmore Girls. So I don't know. And I also, it's kind of weird being, is that you want to give, let the town that hosts the event benefit as well. So I don't know.
I
Could talk to
agree.
Jenny about it though and see what she says.
Yeah, I don't want to step on their toes. I'm just thinking for those who may have extended their visit, but maybe we don't do anything print and we just do a little bit of Instagram boosting around the Gilmore Girls
Yeah,
at
exactly.
that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which
And even
might be more
just
effective.
using the, if they're going to use the CT tourism site, which they probably do, a lot of our stuff is on there.
Yeah. So that might be a nicer way to just make sure people can find us. But I'm glad you've been in contact with Jenny. Do you know, hopefully whoever she reached out to, were they just some bad emails or were people kind of waiting for a meeting? And because I didn't hear from her, but I've never really worked directly with her.
Her contact person was Stephen Briganti for a while. She talked to him. He put her in contact with area places that might be able to host large groups, because that's the biggest problem in Washington is you need a space to host like a speaker series and stuff. And obviously now she found out that Gunnery was they just had a lot going on at their space, but the other place was Spring Hill, and Spring Hill did not get back to her.
Okay, yeah, they're kind of out of season with the vineyard not being open. So
No, this is going back like way back. This is during their season. This is the summer.
Oh,
I saw her this summer. I saw her in August.
got it.
We met.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's, it's interesting that it's the what anniversary in 2025?
25th.
25th.
25th anniversary of what? The show's older than that.
25th anniversary. I don't know. She said 25th
Oh.
anniversary. I thought of the show. I don't know.
It could be.
I don't know.
Actually, you're right.
I'm pretty
You're
sure
right.
it was 2000 it started. I'm almost positive. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I lost track of time. So I feel like it would be nice to partner with them, even if we're not the host. Maybe we can host an event or some kind of tour at the beginning or the end. It would be nice to partner. I also feel like it would be nice to bring it back to the Northwest corner because this is where, it's really based on Washington, Kent, New Milford, Litchfield, the green, what she had in mind. So it'd be nice if we could maybe partner together and bring everybody back to the original inspiration. So
In terms of space, I know that Kent didn't have much space either. And the Gilmore girls hosted their evening festivity when they all got together under a tent. They brought in tents and it worked out great.
Mhm. I know, I think what's challenging for Washington is we don't even have places for people to stay, so then partnering, I feel like partnering somehow with somewhere that has more places to stay. But having some kind of event here, hopefully we can be in contact with them and see.
The places
What?
to stay was, I know I rented my house out for the week. Worked out great.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I suppose that's always an option. Yeah, so let's keep that on our radar. We have some time to think before 2025. I think that's all I had for my reports. Does anyone have questions about anything, any of those topics? All right. Moving along on the agenda, neither of these, the old business items, I just wanted to let you all know that we did meet with the selectmen for our budget request, and thank you so much to Robin and Tricia for joining me on that meeting. I think the selectmen had good questions, but weren't too, like, nothing in our regular operating seemed too out of the ordinary. We did ask for, in the capital part of the budget, for money to be put in for the sidewalks. We're working on that grant for the connectivity again. I met with the engineers, I think 3 weeks ago, since our last meeting, to work on getting a proposal together to move forward on the engineering for at least the first phases of that project. So we're going to try, the goal is to try to continue to move forward while we're waiting for the grants. And in response to the fact that the DOT said that they really want to see the grants they want to see the applications closer to ready. And we had a great concept plan, we had community meetings, we had input, and they appreciated all of that, but we did not have engineering designs. So we were, that step farther, and approvals. We need to get the right of way clearances from DOT themselves, as well as any property owners. So we're just going to keep plugging forward with what we can. And if we get part of that connectivity grant, then that'll help us move forward. So again, I will keep you all appraised of the budget process and the meetings with the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and the town meeting, so that we can advocate for those projects if need be.
Is that put the fiber in?
No, so fiber. So we are still, we don't have any money in to put fiber in. We have money in the EDC budget request to study what is left once Frontier finishes,
Oh, okay.
right? So they're out there hanging fiber right now.
Yeah,
And then we want to see, we're gonna need to figure out who didn't get covered and what it would cost to cover that. And actually, I see Wayne is on the meeting. He's reported out to planning, I think, but Wayne, did you want to share anything about that? I know that there have been contacts with, because is it federal money that's out there? It's the infrastructure money, and if you partner, if the town pays part and the private company, which in our case would be Frontier, pays part. I'm butchering this, Wayne, save me.
No, you're pretty close.
Thank you.
So Frontier, many of you have probably seen, trucks out there stringing stuff on the poles. Frontier is in the process of stringing fiber through town. I mean, they've already done my street. I was so excited. I actually took a picture of the truck and the guys while they were doing it. They probably thought I was a raving lunatic, but we won't know till they're done. And but they're probably gonna fiber up about roughly 75 to 80% of the town, depending on how you count. Whether you're counting it by road miles or counting it by homes passed or whatnot. And that's what they're gonna do. And as they get segments built out, they're allegedly going to light it and people can sign up. It's a $50 flat installation fee. So even if you have a long driveway, which is really a great deal. And they're offering gigabit fiber, actually up to 2 gigs if you want. And what we have set aside from ARPA funding is money to conduct a study once they're done on basically what's left and what it would take to fiber the rest of the town. The goal is universal access to fiber. So no matter where you live in town, if you want fiber in your house or your business, you should have access to it. So we have ARPA funds that, as I said, set aside to take care of that part. Once we have that study done, then we can hopefully petition for some of the Infrastructure Act money to actually partner to get the rest of the town fibered up. That money is not even eligible to apply for yet, so it's not like we're behind the 8 ball. Even if we had the study done, we couldn't apply it anyway. It's going to involve an investment by the town. The way the infrastructure money works, well, you have to have a public-private partnership, and obviously we would partner with Frontier since they're the only people providing residential fiber at this point. Typically, it involves a 25% buy-in by the municipality. So we don't know yet for sure, but we're probably looking at a 25-50 split, where we would put up a quarter, Frontier would put up a quarter, and the other half made up by the infrastructure funding. Frontier has expressed, at least in my conversations, a willingness to be the private partner, but they're not going to participate in any of the grant writing or application process. That's going to be on us. And I think that's about it. I mean, supposedly we were going to start seeing some of the layout this year for, how it's going to work, but they don't even have that ready yet. So I think it's going to be at least 2025 at the earliest before we can even apply for this money. I think that's it, Michelle.
Great, that's fantastic.
Do you know if they're gonna be running fiber actually to the house? Because I've heard rumors, but maybe just rumors, that they're running fiber to the pedestal and then they're gonna run coax to the house in some cases.
No, Frontier is doing full fiber to the home. You may be confusing it. You may be confusing it with what some of the cable companies in the area are doing, like Optimum, Altice.
Yeah,
is doing what you described, where they're basically fiberizing their cable network.
Right.
Comcast is doing the same thing. So of course they're going to brag about how they're fibering their network, but it's not a full fiber to the home build out. It's basically they're fiberizing the parts of their cable network that'll make it run better for them, but not necessarily for you.
Right.
Whereas Frontier is actually putting in full fiber to the home. It's like once they light it and once they get it lit, they'll show up when you pay the $50 install, and they will literally string a fiber to your house. So
wow, it's not bad. Wish they did that all over. Warren and Kent.
I know, we were kind of blown away. We did not anticipate this happening, but we're grateful that it did. Hey, Wayne, will Frontier tell us when they're done so that we know it's time to initiate this study? Or do we have to keep kind of reaching out to them?
I'm going to assume the latter. So I'm just going to keep reaching out. I'm going to be the squeaky wheel. So
thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah. So
Jim, has there been any contact with your office about this from Frontier? you still there? I'll touch base with him. Yeah, because I think what we'll need to make sure we initiate in time so that we're ready for these grants is to get the study for who was left out started. And there are companies out there that other towns have used to do the estimates for what it would cost to finish everyone, I think, right, Wayne? I know that was a big thing that was happening like a year or two ago.
Well, it's Frontier is not the parts of the town that Frontier are not going to fiber are the parts that are just not economically viable for them. It's, you have a road on the outskirts of town that only has 3 houses on it. They're just, even if everybody in the road signed up, they'd never be able to amortize the cost. So they're not doing those roads. So if somehow money could be, put into the kitty, so to speak, so that the cost per home pass drops to an acceptable level for them, they would, in theory, they would come back on their next round of stringing fiber and do the rest. I mean, they do have plans to string fiber in many of the towns in our area. I mean, we were, fortunately, farther along the list than we thought we were going to be, which is great for us. But they're not going to break off from their plan to finish out our build out, even when we do, if and when we do get the infrastructure money. So provided we can do this and get it all, the ducks in a row and everything, it would still be several years, until we actually got, universal fiber in the town.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're not missing the triggers for getting the study, the next steps, because there are a lot of steps and we don't want to prolong this very long process anymore. But we'll be in touch. We don't need to figure all that out right now.
Yeah, and there are folks out there who actually do this sort of work, where they can actually, once Frontier's done, guys like Mike Solitro at Certex, and there's a couple others who actually do this sort of thing, where you can actually hire them to basically do the survey, and and plus Frontier may have, 1 or 2 outfits who actually do that work for them as well that they could recommend. So
Yeah.
It's, there are folks who do exactly what we need to have done.
Good. Excellent. All right. Thank you, Wayne. We'll move on to our new business for today, which is to discuss the upcoming restaurant week. I shared the concept with the EDC last month, and I just want to kind of give you where we are now and then talk about moving forward. So since everyone seemed initially pretty excited and supportive of that idea, I brought it also to the Arts Council, who was also excited about the arts tie-in, and Fran spoke with the WBA. That's what we were waiting for that executive meeting in the end of January. Since then, we formed a small committee of myself, Victoria from the Arts Council, the chair of the Arts Council, and Zoe, who's the owner of the pantry and one of the directors with the WBA. And we have met once virtually and then in person, and we've met with Michael here, who brought us the concept. So we have started putting together sort of an action plan of how to attack this and picked a date and kind of thinking about what this might look like. That was sort of our last meeting, and planning our outreach to the restaurants. And so a couple things that I want to share, and then I'm going to kind of turn it over to Michael to let him introduce himself. If you remember, I explained how Michael has done this before in other towns. And so he brought the concept to us. It's never been done here in Washington that anybody can remember. So this is exciting and new. And the reaction so far has been really positive from the restaurants as well. And Zoe's done just a little kind of floating of the idea with some of her fellow restaurant people, and they seem on board. So that's great. our goal is to have everybody, all of our restaurants on board. The way, well, I'll save that for later. I'm gonna just let you go. So, I'm like, I don't wanna make
No,
this.
go ahead.
I don't wanna make this too complicated. Well, so normally, in the way this has worked in the past, when Michael has done this with other towns, is he's gone out and gotten sponsors from the towns are also. You have to mute.
I'm muted.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Sorry.
Like, what's happening? No worries. So, don't you worry, the mics will pick you up. In these other the towns are larger, they have more restaurants, but they also have larger businesses, and the larger businesses help sponsor putting this together. Because it takes a lot of time to set up the website, to print the signs, to put the graphics together, to do all the outreach. But we don't have a lot of large companies, and we kind of felt that in order for the signage to just be cleaner, we would really like to sponsor this event between the EDC, the Arts Council, and the WBA. So we kind of talked about that with Michael, and he's working on putting together that plan and that proposal for us. The idea would be to split it 3 ways, the cost for this. And I'm gonna let Michael show you sort of the prototype, what he's put together for the website to start, so you can kind of get an idea of what this would look like. And then we can talk a little bit more about the cost. So that is my introduction. If you want me to say more, I'm happy to, but I'm gonna turn it over to Michael, and he's gonna share his screen and show you what he started.
That was perfect. Thank you, Michelle.
Sure.
I'd just like to say thank you to everyone else here who's taken the time to listen to what we're trying to do here, which is a first, as you said. I think it was back in October, November, when I showed up at Michelle's office unannounced, asked her if she had a minute, and before she could answer, I sat down and started telling her about this. So it's something that I'm really excited about. We've, as Michelle alluded to, I've done this before. I think we're on our 6th restaurant week that we're doing. Other towns that I've done it in and I started in was Southbury. I own and operate southbury.com, which is a destination website for the town of Southbury. We work with the town, not for the town, a very clear distinction. And we help people find things to do, places to go, where to shop, where to eat. Then on the flip side of that is we help local businesses get found by those same people coming for those other things. Southbury was never the end all be all. And so the idea was to kind of use Southbury as a proving model proven, at least in my mind. And now we're going to take that same concept and do it across all of Litchfield County with a new domain called litchfield.co. So as far as Restaurant Week goes, typically what we do is, the whole idea is restaurants are usually typically pretty slow in these winter, early spring months. And the idea is to hopefully introduce people to these restaurants that might not have gone there before. Restaurants love it. I usually don't get any pushback from restaurants because they're always willing to take on new business. We put a couple of fun twists on them. We also include Litchfield Distillery, and what they do is they create a specialty cocktail for the week with each of the restaurants and actually provide the alcohol or the bourbon in order for them to do so. So again, no cost out of pocket to the restaurants at all for any of this. And then we do typically, we're not going to do it this time around, typically we'll take a donation from the restaurants for a local food bank, and which is also voluntary on the restaurant's part. And then another voluntary aspect is doing a giveaway. So during Restaurant Week, if someone eats at a participating business, they take a picture of the receipt, they upload it to litchfield.co, and they're automatically entered into a raffle drawing whereby they can win a stack of gift cards from different restaurants. We're going to do the same thing here. It's a good driver. People love it. The end consumer, who doesn't love winning free stuff, And hopefully the restaurants have priced the gift cards at a price point that allows them to still make money. So if you get a $25 gift card to, you know, the Washington, help me out here.
Pizza.
Washington Pizza or even the GW. Right, if you go there with a $25 gift card, chances are you're probably gonna get a beer or a cocktail or some wine. So they're gonna still make money, and hopefully the idea is if you give them great service, great product, that people are gonna come back. So before I show you what we've done, any questions on any of that?
I was just wondering.
Oh, I have a question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a question. So, this thing with the Litchfield Distillery, I mean, I'm just thinking about the restaurants in the depot and on the green. So you have like Marty's, the Poe, the Pantry, GW, and Inari. And the GW is the only one with a liquor license. So, like, is that really going to be as big of a draw as maybe other towns? I mean, I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm just saying contextually, it might not make as much sense.
Oh, that's right. So the liquor license, I didn't really think about that, is required for hard alcohol. Zoe's, what'd she say? Zoe has?
Yeah, Zoe does.
Yeah.
Is it all,
Beer.
do they make a distinction between beer and wine and hard alcohol, or
I
I don't?
believe so.
I think so, yeah.
The
Okay.
other thing that Litchfield Distillery, that's a great point, Robin. The other good thing that Litchfield Distillery has the capability of doing, and of course, this is dependent upon how many folks that they actually have that week that are available, but they can actually set up a tasting table at various locations whereby you don't need a liquor license because they're only serving a very small sample of what it is that they're
Yeah.
providing. So that might be a way to maybe get around it. I'm not looking to, break any rules here, obviously. But we'll do what makes sense, right? So, if they can do it, great. If not, then that's okay too.
Yeah, that was just sort of a fun tie-in that they've done in other towns. But not the driving force.
Yeah,
behind
no,
the
not
restaurant
at all.
week, and we could definitely move forward without it if that doesn't
Absolutely.
pan out. We
Absolutely.
just thought that could be fun.
Yeah, I know, because I'm a member of Orvis in Millbrook, for sporting clays and all.
Oh, yeah.
And they have, Taconic Distillery that comes by and does just what you said, Michael. They bring in all the bottles, but you get a tasting of just a little cup.
Right,
And then there's no liquor license issue, I
Right.
think.
right.
Yeah.
That may be because of New York, but I would think it'd be worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the sense I've gotten in the past. But we'll codify that with them and make sure, obviously, and like I said, we don't want to break any rules.
Yeah.
And we'll do this all by the law, of course.
Yeah, and maybe the way they participate, if they do, is with the art component at the galleries, right?
Potentially, yeah,
Setting
that'd
up
be
the
great.
tasting at the art, because what our goal was to try to promote the art that's already here, so people could make a day of it, come and go to a gallery and go to lunch, or vice versa, go to a gallery, go to dinner. But also, we were gonna try, the Arts Council was excited about trying to partner with the restaurants to bring either music or an artist or something to the restaurant, so there might be events happening that week, so. Music one evening at the GW's, another evening at the Poe, another evening at the Owl, or whatever that might look like. Maybe it's a poetry reading, or maybe it's an artist, maybe there's art on the walls, and several of them already do that. I know Marty's does. So we were gonna kind of work on that tie-in, and maybe the Litchfield Distillery could just set up at one of the galleries if that is how it
Yeah,
works best.
That sounds like a great alternative for sure.
Yeah, okay.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen.
Sorry, one more thing.
Yeah, no, please, go ahead.
So I used to live in Grand Rapids, and every fall they have this huge thing called Art Prize, and it takes over the entire city, and any artist who wants to can be part of it. And then at least for like the print art, it goes up in all the restaurants, the library, the coffee shops, everywhere. And then people vote on their favorite, and like whoever wins gets like $100 grand or something outrageous. But maybe you can incorporate it that way, like make it sort of give the artisans some kind of incentive. And then, people go to the different restaurants so they can see the different art and vote on it, whatever. I don't know. Just an idea to sort of marry the two.
I like the idea of the voting. I don't know about getting that kind of, clearly we can't.
No,
get that
it doesn't have to be that kind of a
Well, and it's interesting because we keep having there's this huge amount of creativity, especially on the Arts Council, throwing all these ideas, and I don't want to tackle more than we can chew here. Like it's our first one, and I want it to be successful. I think art everywhere is great. I don't know if we're looking at one of the last weeks in April. I don't know if we can pull that off by then. But in as many places, I think setting a foundation that we could build on so people could kind of see what it's about, wrap their head around it so that maybe the following year it's even bigger and we're in every restaurant and every, I think room to grow would not be bad, but I like that idea of having it around, and whether some kind of voting, just like the receipts are going in for a raffle, right? Some kind of recognition for the artists might be feasible as well in the same, maybe you just
Agreed.
write on your receipt, you scan it in, you vote for this artist and here's my receipt
Right.
for the raffle. And, it's, even if it's just recognition without a prize, or the artist gets one of the prize packages or something, I don't know. We could think about that to just really incorporate the art. The thing is, I'm thinking about, there's the artists, but then we also have like galleries that have multiple artists on the wall. Do we vote then for their experience, the gallery they appreciated? I don't know.
I love that idea. I mean, I think Robin, maybe next year we'll invite you to be part of the committee. At some point, right? So great idea. Look, with a restaurant week, I could do those with my eyes closed, right? When I spoke to Michelle and, she discussed potentially adding an art angle into it, I thought it was possible and we could still do it. And then all these great ideas came out, Robin, yours included. At some point, we do have to kind of bring it all in, just so, to Michelle's point, we can make it manageable, see what works, see what doesn't. And then if we don't do it this year, certainly next year, I think that would be something that would be fantastic to include.
Yeah. Yeah, we have yet to float this idea. I checked in with Judy Black and they don't even have art on the walls yet, but she's gonna try to get some. Because she's kind of bummed that their first exhibit isn't going up until like mid-May, and she's got some other people. Yeah, I know, it's kind of late. So I was like, maybe some student art. We'll think about it. But so we're a little under the gun on getting all of that coordinated, but we'll get as much as we can and then recognize it as best we can.
Love it.
Yeah.
So let me do a quick walkthrough of what has been done to date. I'm going to share my screen here. Can everyone see that okay?
Yeah.
So in the spirit of trying to marry food and the arts, look, the main focus here is on the restaurants and hopefully bringing them new business, getting people in the door. And then secondly, where food and the arts meet. So we also want to, knowing that Washington has such a vibrant art culture and environment, we want to make sure that we give enough props to the arts community in whatever format that is, whether it's, paintings, musicians, whatever that case may be. Some of these things everyone has seen. Some of these things Michelle has not even seen yet. Hopefully it's going to be okay. So this is the main landing page when folks first visit litchfield.co, the restaurant page. This same graphic or something similar will also be on our homepage. We're going to put it underneath our things to do and our adventures and experiences section. We're also going to link it from our eat category, which essentially lists all of the restaurants in Litchfield County. I think there's 360 plus, which is fantastic. And then we're also going to list it in the Explore Towns section. So all 26 towns in Litchfield County have a representation here, including Washington, which Michelle is well aware. And at some point, she's going to give me some feedback on the Washington page, make sure that it drives and the message is the same based upon what you guys are trying to do here in Washington. And as I continue, if you have any questions, please stop me, raise your hand, or just shout out. Like Michelle said, it's the Washington Business Association, the Washington Arts Council, and the Washington EDC that are the primary sponsors and of this program. And all of this language that you're seeing, if you're trying to read that, it's almost final, but it's not final. So at some point we'll tweak it if necessary. So when they first get here, restaurants, the arts, and prizes. I'm just gonna kind of scroll through this really quickly. What I've done is I've gone ahead, Michelle, and I've added all of the restaurants in here. And then I'm gonna come back up and just talk about it really quickly. And we're also including, which isn't necessarily part of Washington, we're including the Hopkins Inn. Apparently, Michelle was saying that you guys normally include them in just about everything.
And
So,
they're members of the WBA.
and
yeah.
they're awesome. I've eaten there. I love that place.
I think we spoke to, so you've got Spring Hill in there. We
Yep.
included the wineries and they're back to Hopkins. Hopkins Inn and Hopkins Vineyard are actually two separate businesses.
We'll make sure to
Yeah,
add them
so
in
we'll
for
just
sure.
we'll get,
How about the Warren? I know it's not Washington, but is that
The general store.
yeah,
the only,
I mean, that's I'm throwing it out there.
I know, they are not members of the WBA
Oh, okay.
and haven't been really involved in the community, so we
Yeah.
weren't gonna. We didn't wanna include them. Partially because the signage, Washington,
expand
Warren,
it.
it
Yeah.
would just get a little bit. We just count Hopkins as Washington. This is a Washington restaurant week.
Yeah. Okay.
And they've got the 06777 zip code. I know the whole
Yeah.
bottom part of Warren does, but
Are they the only restaurant in Warren that I know?
besides the general store,
Yeah, well, yeah, I think they
yeah,
are. They're
besides Hopkins, yeah,
Besides Hopkins, right?
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I think so.
Yeah.
What was that rooster?
Yeah,
But that's not there
I don't
anymore.
think that's there.
Yeah, and that was, yeah,
Yeah.
so, thanks.
Every restaurant is going to have their logo. They're also, instead of doing, typically what we do is we require restaurants to have a prefix menu. It kind of levels the playing field for everyone. And it kind of, in the end consumer's mind, it lets them understand or helps them to understand that everyone's doing a set menu at a set price, whatever price they pick. They know their business best, you pick the price. With what we're going to do here in Washington, because of the diversity of the different businesses, we're gonna have them create a special menu for that week. And again, they're gonna pick the price. We're not necessarily gonna call it a prefix. They wanna call it a prefix, great. They don't have to, and we'll talk more about that as well. And once they come in, so what you're gonna see here, this isn't necessarily from any of the restaurants because this hasn't been approved yet. But this is just an example. If they click on a menu, it's going to pop up and show that particular menu for that business. Under each restaurant, we're also going to be featuring things that are happening within the arts community at that location. And again, these are fictitious occurrences that are happening now, right? Victoria Art Painting, special performances by Michelle G and the EDC band. Apparently, Michelle does play the violin, but there is no EDC band, and that's
We
another
can form a band.
story. And then there's also a section for the arts, and this section is dedicated to the arts. And again, this is new and hasn't been approved yet, but the concept is on each of the days that Restaurant Week is occurring is to list the location, the time, and the arts, if you will, that are gonna be there for that particular day or week. And as you continue scrolling down, this is where the prizes are gonna be. We're currently in the process of launching a combined Bethlehem, Middlebury, Woodbury Restaurant Week. And the restaurants there have all donated gift cards totaling more than $1,500. So 6 lucky people are gonna walk away very happy at the end of that, assuming that they upload a receipt. And here, this is where we're gonna list where all the different gift cards that they could win are gonna be listed here. The way that they upload their receipt is pretty simple, and we kept it really easy for them to do. First name, phone, email. They upload an image of their receipt, depending upon where it is on their phone or their laptop. And then an FAQ section for, and these are questions that we've encountered in other towns having done this, that we thought were just an easy win we could put up here in case it helps people to better understand what a Washington Restaurant Week entails.
Michael, can you tie this in with Open Table in any way?
What's that? That's for making reservations,
Yeah.
right?
Potentially.
Yeah,
We would have to, do our restaurants?
That's assuming that Open Table is working with those restaurants already, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
have to
think
see if
that-
they're signed up.
It's possible, definitely
That would be an
possible.
interesting way to,
That would be neat.
yeah, if you could do that.
Hmm.
So funny because I've used Open Table in other big
Yeah.
places, but never here in Washington.
Yeah, Open Table is really strong in New York.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But not, you're right, it's not as much out here, but.
That, as we visit the restaurant, because our goal is to meet with each of the restaurants. And so that could be one of our questions. Do you participate with Open Table or are you signed up with them?
Yeah,
Right.
Interesting. Yeah,
So that's Restaurant Week in a nutshell. We're also, in terms of promoting it and marketing it, we're gonna have street signs or lawn signs out there. Probably more than Michelle has seen before in Washington. And not only are we gonna put them in various high visibility locations throughout Washington, we're also gonna put one in front of each restaurant. And also try to cover all the different exits and entry points into the Washington area. Also, we're gonna create some flyers that restaurants can put up on their front doors or at their bars, potentially leave some at the library, some here at Town Hall. We're gonna use some really neat ads. I think they're neat only because I created them, that I've used in other restaurant weeks. They're fun, they're low-key, I want to say hip, but maybe hip's not a real word that people
are you
use
talking
anymore.
about the Facebook and Instagram booths?
Correct, the
Yeah,
post,
or,
yeah.
So that will be one of the main reaches for outside of town are the social media ads. Because advertising around here, newspaper wise, is tricky.
Yeah.
Like they're just,
Yeah,
there are a lot and not everybody gets the same paper, so.
and I've had, to that point, Michelle, we'll discuss this later, but I've had issues with promoting these kinds of things in papers only because they see me as a competitor, which I don't think I am, because I am so small compared to the larger papers. And at the end of the day, look, the idea is really to promote restaurants, so.
I think I would add, we did talk about creating a QR code to go on these flyers and the outreach so that will bring people directly to this website so they can find all the restaurants and what's
Mhm.
happening. And we also talked about putting the yard signs outside of town in our neighboring, couple key roads to New Milford, Litchfield.
109, 202
Yeah,
junction. kind of
yeah.
thing.
So that, because we're really trying to capture the attention of people around us who aren't necessarily already here in town. Yeah.
Questions?
I was just curious, are you also doing this in Kent? And around, those areas a little bit on the outskirts.
At some point, we will.
Yeah.
So my wife and I live in Watertown, so the natural tendency was to start there. And then now we're working with the Woodbury Chamber to organize their restaurant week. Hopefully, we'll be here in Washington doing the same, and then continue to migrate northward and westward, if you will.
Mhm.
Depending upon the town and the amount of restaurants in that particular town, it could be a single town function, or it could be a multi-town like we're doing in Woodbury, Bethlehem, and Middlebury at the moment.
Makes sense.
If we did this for April for 24, would we continue for 25 to do it in April, or would we do it when the restaurants need the business most, which would be January, February, March?
That's a great question. Look, everyone buys for wanting to have it in February. At least from all the restaurants that I've surveyed in the past. February is by far the slowest time. Doesn't mean that we can't change this going forward. I would say, let's see what happens in April. Especially with the arts component, if that is more conducive to nicer weather, maybe we'll keep it in April. Maybe we'll bring it to the warmer months. I don't know, but I say, let's test it. Let's see what happens. I'm really hoping that with this arts piece, I'm gonna think that it might lend itself towards warmer weather, which, look, at the end of the day, restaurants will take, new business at any time of the year. Oftentimes they're really only busy on weekends. And that's only some restaurants. To say that we could bring in X amount of customers during the week would be a definite win for us, so.
Yeah, I think we talked about that, and Zoe, being a restaurant owner herself, felt that April was still slow enough to warrant, like, this was still a good time. But yeah, February, March, was kind of what we were shooting for, but we just got too far behind on that. And we want to make sure we're not doing a restaurant week at the same time as anyone pretty close to us.
Right.
Like within 30 minutes. So we wanted to steer away from Southbury and the Bethlehem Woodbury.
Well, at least Woodbury for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's a good idea. Well, and it's interesting though, because we were talking about March and how all the private schools are on spring break. Is that something to avoid or not to avoid, or to schedule within because of that? It's definitely worth thinking about, and we can get feedback from all our restaurant people, to see if they would like to shift it forward, or back, I guess, into the first quarter of the year, that January, February, March time, because that is definitely the slowest. And this at being at the end of the April is like just at the beginning of the things start picking up in May, really. Our farmers market doesn't usually get going until May. Things don't usually start really picking up in town until May. So will this help boost that and bring people? Maybe, we'll see. Keeping an eye on that is definitely worthwhile.
Firsts are always good learning experiences. And the thing that I've done in the past, did it in Southbury the first time we did a restaurant week. I surveyed all the restaurateurs and all the managers and asked them very pointed questions, right? Did the format work? Was the time frame right? Was the experience on the website good for you guys? What feedback have you heard otherwise? I certainly don't pretend to know everything, and I think we're going to learn a lot too as we progress and we do this. And if it warrants adding another fun piece, like Robin was saying, let's do it. If it means us having to change the time frame, let's do that. But I think we're going to learn a lot of these things. It being a first, I'm just excited about being able to do it and do it in a fashion that's, I think, going to be really good for the town.
All right, do we have more feedback, questions, comments? All right, well, what I need from the EDC is to talk about, or to have a vote to approve the expenditure for this restaurant week. The proposal that Michael put together, he itemized out all of the actual deliverables, the signs, the flyers, the ads, the Facebook ads and Instagram, website, you know, all of that, and then gave us a very generous discount. So that the total for the whole thing is $1,800, and proposing that the Arts Council, the EDC, and the WBA split that. The Arts Council and the WBA have not voted on that yet, but I would love to start with the EDC and get approval for $600 to apply towards this restaurant week so that we can do all of the necessary promotion for that.
So moved.
Thank you, Wayne. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rudy. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it looks unanimous. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I think that will make it easier for then the WBA and the Arts Council. I know the Arts Council is on board with this as well, so I don't anticipate any issues there. I don't know about the WBA. But the WBA, just so everyone knows, the annual meeting is tomorrow, I believe, and unfortunately, I will already be out of town, so I'm missing that. But Zoe will be there to bring this to the WBA. And Lisa, I'm not sure if you're still here with us. I know you were working as well. Oh, you are
Yeah, I'm
here.
here. Yep.
Great. So were you able to see any of the website there in that presentation?
Yes, I saw some of it. Yep.
Awesome, awesome. If you, let me know if you have any questions. Well, and while you're here, I know Zoe was gonna bring it up at the meeting tomorrow. I'm so sorry I'm missing that, but did you have any
Yep.
questions?
No. Nope.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Good, good. All right, great. Thank you all so much. We're excited about this. And let's see, our next meeting, which is, what are we, the third, we're the third Tuesday in March. So we will be well on the way, right? So we will probably have graphics. We will have spoken to our restaurants and some artists, and we will be in the throes of it. So I'll be happy. It'll be great to update you all on our next meeting about that. And thank you, Michael, for coming in.
Thank you for having me. And
Sure.
thanks, everyone, for listening.
All right, so the next two items on the agenda, we have a report of the WBA. Oh, shoot, did I just lose Lisa? Darn it, she had to leave, right? All right, and Fran's not here. Well, the annual meeting is tomorrow. Anybody who is a member of the WBA is eligible to go. If you got an email from them, you're a member, and if you didn't, you are not. Unfortunately, I don't get to just, although I could probably have somebody from the EDC.
I'm going.
Are you going? Good, 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 good. And Robin, are you going? I know the church is usually invited. No. So, I'm glad you're going.
We got council tomorrow night, so.
Yeah, I know, and I'm missing that too. So, thank you. I'm glad you'll be there, Trisha. You can report back, and maybe, you know, if they give you, I've never really been given the opportunity to speak at one of those. So I don't really ever get to do an EDC update, but at least we can hear what they're up to. I think they're gonna be voting on officers and, have some big plans for the upcoming year, and Restaurant Week obviously is big for them. So that's that. Selectmen, I think Jim just told me, he kind of gave me a wave through the door that he had to step out, and even though his computer is still on, I don't think he's stepped back in. Are you there, Jim? No. All right, I would probably say that if he were to report back to you, it would be that he's been in tons of budget meetings. This is the time of year where he sits down with every commission and department that has a budget request. And the selectmen hear from everyone, and then they put it all together and kind of work on it and then presented to the Board of Finance. I will say that this year's reeval has made it just in a very, challenging year, I think, because the, reevaluation of everyone's property went up so much. A lot of people are contesting that, which, then there's a process for that. So then the grand list is not actually set yet, and it makes it challenging for them to anticipate what the mill rate will be set at because they don't have the actual grand list. So the target number that they're shooting for a total budget, it's a whole process, and this year will be even more challenging. It is anticipated the mill rate will come down because the property values went up so much. The goal is to keep the budget request at a reasonable, it usually goes up. There's inflation, there's the cost of living adjustments and such, plus new initiatives. But the idea is that no one's taxes should increase dramatically. So,
Usually like 10%.
yeah, I think the average
More than that.
that, like, everybody's properties went up. I think the average was like 40%
Yeah.
or something. It was like really high,
High,
really high.
all over.
Yeah, everywhere, but yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, so it's anticipated that the mill rate will come down. They just don't know to what, because it's just a whole game of numbers and ins and outs. So we'll watch that process unfold, but that, I know that that's a big part of what the selectmen are working on right now. Any other reports on items not on the agenda? Anything anyone else wants to share with the EDC? Got a lot of stuff going on. No? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you, Kristen. All right, so we have a motion to adjourn at 4:13. I'm gonna assume you're all in favor. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon, and I'm gonna be away for the next 5 days, but I will check back in on Monday next week. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.